The 2020 Formula 1 season seems to be getting worse and worse for Ferrari's Formula 1 drivers, even the one who doesn't race for the team just yet. Carlos Sainz Jr didn't even get to turn a lap in the Belgian Grand Prix because of a pre-race engine-induced exhaust failure, and yet he still managed to match his future employer's points haul from the race. Ouch. Head to our website for a detailed explanation of Ferrari's quite frankly embarrassing weekend in which Sebastian Vettel and Charles Leclerc failed to finish in the top 10 and got beaten by Kimi Räikkönen in the customer Alfa Romeo. And while we're tooting our own horn, how about subscribing to this channel if you haven't already? But let's get into why Ferrari's 2020 slump is more bad news for the unluckiest driver in Formula 1. And that's saying something given Sainz currently races for McLaren and is preparing for what should be the opportunity of a lifetime in replacing Vettel at Ferrari in 2021. The choice to join Ferrari was a no-brainer for Sainz, who was probably on board the second it was seriously put past him. But would he make that same decision now? It's at least not quite as clear-cut. That's how bad Ferrari's nosedive in form is and the likelihood of a short-term turnaround. But don't just take our word for it. Even ex-Ferrari technical boss Ross Brawn, these days F1's managing director of motorsport, is pondering whether Sainz is thinking twice about his move. Brawn said after the Belgian Grand Prix, "What looked like a dream move to Ferrari next year isn't looking too good right now, and inevitably he must be nervous about his prospects next season." That's a reference to the fact that Formula 1 teams must carry over major parts of their car for 2021, which means a lot of what Ferrari is working with this year it will have to struggle with again in 2021. And a major overhaul on the engine side seems a little bit of a stretch given how far it's fallen. Ferrari struggles won't be lost on Sainz, but he has avoided talking too much about his next team during its difficult season. But when pushed by Sky Sports F1 pundit and friend of the race Karun Chandhok on Ferrari's struggles at Spa, he started to open up on his desire to see its fortunes improve. Sainz said it was no surprise to see Ferrari slump in Belgium given the team needs to make what he called a very big step with its engine to get back on terms with the rest of its F1 opposition. But he backed the team to utilise its massive resources and already be working extensively to address the rapid decline it suffered from 2019 to 2020. He also believes Ferrari's problems at Spa were exaggerated and down to more than just the engine, and hopes the team can make progress before he arrives in 2021. The Spaniard will spend a lot of time at Maranello once he's contractually free of McLaren and pledges to be first through the door of the factory, pushing to find more power. Sainz said, "They need a very big step on the engine. I know how tough it is because it took Renault a few years and it's taken Honda quite a long time also. But the fact that Renault's nearly there, close to Mercedes, shows that you can do it. I'm sure the factory now is working flat out and hopefully by the time I get there they've improved a bit and then together we can do the next step." Sainz has always insisted that Ferrari's problems aren't his problems until this season has ended because he's got a job to do at McLaren. His farewell year with the team he's got a very close connection to should be a welcome distraction from pondering his Ferrari prospects and worrying about what's in store in 2021. But unfortunately for Sainz, things are pretty gloomy whichever way he looks. He's suffering a disappointing and frustrating season and his failure to even start the race in Belgium was a new low. Sainz is 11th in the championship with a best finish of 5th in this season opener, but he's 5 places behind young teammate Lando Norris, who has almost double his points tally. And yet Sainz ranks 4th in the Race F1 journalist Ed Straw's driver ratings so far this season, so there's a clear disconnect between the job Sainz is doing and how things look on paper. That's because Sainz's apparently mediocre results this year are actually down to seriously bad luck. Every driver has things go against them at times and usually this sort of stuff balances out, but judging by his 2020 fortune, Sainz must have a family of black cats living at his house. Sainz qualified 3rd and was on course for a probable top 5 finish in the Styrian Grand Prix, but a fumbled pit stop from McLaren dropped him to 9th. Getting fastest lap was a consolation, but he only scored 3 points instead of a likely 10. In Hungary he was running inside the points, but pit lane traffic forced him to wait in his pit box during the early phase of stops to switch from intermediate to slick tyres. Judging by those around him before that happened and their finishing positions, his 9th place finish should have been between 6th and 8th, and that's another 2 to 6 points sacrificed. Sainz was one of the puncture victims of the British Grand Prix, which cost him a likely 4th place finish and threw 12 points down the toilet. Another slow pit stop cost him a likely 8th place and 4 more points at the second Silverstone race, and given his starting position and the sedate nature of the Belgian Grand Prix, it's conceivable that a straightforward 7th place and 6 more points went begging. So Sainz's tally is actually anywhere from 29 to 35 points smaller than it should be this season, and those missing points would be enough to put him 4th in the championship. In the grand scheme of things, you might think it's generous to feel too sorry for a well-paid young man who drives for one of F1's greatest teams in history and is about to move to the most famous. But Sainz is one of the good guys in Formula 1. He's a down-to-earth, likeable, hard-working driver who has been performing to a very high level in 2020 and has much less to show for it than he should. And unless Ferrari produces the mother of all turnarounds, that might be the case again next year. So do you think Sainz's Ferrari move might actually be a sideways or backward step? If the offer to join Ferrari came now, rather than before the season, do you think he'd still say yes? Let us know what you think in the comments below, and let us know what you'd do if you were in Sainz's situation. Give this video a like if you've made it this far, and subscribe to our channel to join us again next time. For Sainz's sake, we'd like to think Ferrari will be more competitive by then, but we'd like to put out a new video before 2022.